The Tactical Operations Center buzzed with controlled routine until Major Harrison's suspicion reached its breaking point. "Run another background check, Intelligence Officer Martinez," he commanded, doubt clear in his voice. The unremarkable woman in standard fatigues stood quietly near the navigation equipment when the drone control system performed one action that changed everything. The effect was immediate. The operations coordinator's tablet clattered to the floor. Senior commanders froze at their monitoring stations and faces drained of color throughout the command center. No one had expected the cartographer to command the entire drone fleet. No one had expected the quiet woman carrying routine maps to coordinate precision strikes across the battlefield. No one had expected the truth. From which city in the world are you watching this video today? If this story captivated you, please consider subscribing. We share powerful stories of unsung heroes every week. The classified tactical center hummed with the constant buzz of drone feeds and urgent communications. Banks of monitors cast blue light across focused faces, illuminating battlefield displays dotted with red enemy positions and yellow drone markers. The air carried the scent of electronics and coffee, mixed with the tension that came with coordinating active combat operations. It was 1,000 hours on what had begun as a critical morning shift at Joint Operations Center Alpha 6, positioned 30 miles from active combat zones. Cartographer Second Class Ana Reyes sat at her assigned mapping station, deliberately unremarkable in her standard combat fatigues and regulation navigation equipment. Her black hair was pulled back in a practical bun, no visible identification except for a basic mapping badge. Mid-20s, with an analytical face that spoke of geographic precision rather than tactical command. Her brown eyes moved constantly between paper maps and digital coordinates, while her presence demanded nothing from the intensity around her. To a casual observer, she might have been any enlisted specialist, a recent assignment from base cartography perhaps, or another face in the endless rotation of support personnel. She occasionally made notes on a standard clipboard, her handwriting neat and precise. Unlike the drone operators and senior staff who filled the center with their tactical briefings and operational credentials, she wore no visible markers of advanced training or specialized clearance. Just a cartographer, it seemed, with basic access and an assignment to maintain routine mapping data. The drone operation underway involved classified coordination of autonomous strike systems for battlefield reconnaissance. The operation had proceeded through standard phases, target acquisition, flight planning, and now navigation support before final strike authorization. Drone Operations Officer Collins, a veteran pilot specialist with something to prove, managed the flight protocols with practiced efficiency, moving between workstations and checking status displays throughout the operations floor. The drone formations had established flight patterns that required careful coordination, Collins explained to the operations commander, his voice carrying across the tactical bay. The decision to proceed with autonomous strikes created complications for standard navigation procedures. Major Harrison sat rigid at the operations control console, his face a careful mask. A distinguished operations commander with 16 years of drone warfare experience, he looked somehow troubled in his uniform, as if the weight of the classified operation had physically aged him in recent months. Ana watched it all, her expression revealing nothing. Only the occasional glance toward the main drone displays suggested any emotional response to the ongoing procedures. When the operations commander called for a navigation update, heads turned in mild surprise as Ana raised her hand slightly from her position at the mapping station. Cartographer Reyes has been conducting final coordinate checks, Drone Operations Officer Collins announced. She may have additional assessment of navigation readiness. She moved toward the main tactical area with a deliberate precision that seemed at odds with her cartographer role. Something about her bearing, spine straight, steps measured, attention focused, caught the notice of a seasoned master sergeant seated near the main display. He frowned slightly, studying her with newfound interest. Major Harrison, sharp-eyed and methodical, watched her with narrowed attention as she prepared her mapping assessment. The major was known for his no-nonsense approach to drone security and operational protocols. Today, he wore his authority like a burden, his uniform crisp despite the morning hour. "Please state your navigation findings for the record," instructed Major Harrison. "Cartographer Second Class Ana Reyes, Mapping and Coordinate Specialist," she replied. Her voice was soft but clear, her professional bearing perfect. Drone Operations Officer Collins began his questioning, and Anna's responses were factual and precise, but delivered in such a measured, quiet tone that Major Harrison soon grew visibly impatient. Several times, the operations recorder had to ask her to repeat her statements. Cartographer Reyes, Major Harrison finally interrupted. The entire operations staff needs to hear your mapping assessment clearly. Please speak up. Yes, Major, Anna responded, barely raising her volume. Drone Operations Officer Collins continued. Cartographer Reyes, can you explain your assessment of the navigation system's operational status? I've been conducting standard mapping procedures and monitoring coordinate accuracy according to established navigation protocols, she replied, her voice still frustratingly soft. I've identified several factors that affect operational certification based on current flight parameters. And what were your findings during mapping procedures? I determined that the drone systems respond normally to standard coordinate testing. I also noted significant flight patterns that indicate potential tactical considerations. Did you document these observations? Yes, I logged all coordinate responses and attempted flight analysis through available tactical specifications. Was this analysis reviewed by operations management? It was not forwarded beyond my immediate mapping supervisor. The operations intelligence officer, Colonel Sarah Mitchell, approached for additional questioning with a skeptical demeanor. Tall and imposing with steel-gray hair that lent her an air of authority, she moved with the confidence of someone accustomed to challenging questionable mapping assessments. Cartographer Reyes, what specific tactical training qualifies you to analyze drone flight security? I completed basic coordinate plotting during my mapping certification program. And what level of security clearance? Her tone suggested the answer would confirm Reyes's limitations. I maintain appropriate clearance levels for cartographer work, Anna responded evenly. Colonel Mitchell smiled thinly. Cartographer Reyes, how could you possibly understand the complexities of autonomous drone systems and tactical protocols when you've been plotting maps for only 12 weeks? Something flickered across Major Harrison's face. A brief shadow of recognition quickly suppressed. He studied Anna more intently now. Objection to characterization, Drone Operations Officer Collins called out. Cartographer Reyes's mapping assessments should be evaluated on merit. Sustained, Major Harrison replied, his eyes never leaving Anna. Colonel Mitchell adjusted her approach. Let me rephrase. What specific experience do you have with drone coordination systems in combat environments? Anna paused before answering, her eyes briefly meeting those of the seasoned master sergeant near the main display. My background includes some practical application of tactical mapping analysis, she said carefully. Could you be more specific? That information involves previous assignments that may not be relevant to current mapping requirements. Colonel Mitchell looked to the operations commander. Major, if the cartographer lacks relevant experience with drone systems, her mapping assessments should be considered accordingly. I'll allow the line of questioning, Major Harrison ruled. Cartographer Reyes, please provide more detail about your relevant experience. Anna's expression remained neutral. My previous mapping experience involves classified drone operations. How convenient, Colonel Mitchell remarked dryly. So we're expected to trust your tactical assessments without knowing your actual qualifications to evaluate drone coordination systems? I'm reporting on coordinate observations I made using established mapping protocols. As the questioning continued, Anna responded with increasingly precise details about drone technology, flight, coordination, and battlefield mapping that made several tactical officers in the center exchange glances. She referenced specific navigation configurations, targeting algorithms, and strike patterns that seemed beyond the knowledge base of a standard cartographer. When shown tactical coordinate diagrams, her eyes lingered on them a moment longer than necessary, her composure wavering almost imperceptibly before returning to professional detachment. Do you recognize these coordinate specifications, Cartographer Reyes? Colonel Mitchell asked. Yes, they represent the drone systems I've been mapping for operational certification. And your analysis of these specifications proved to be, what exactly? The coordinate observations you made about system security, how does that affect current operational readiness? Anna's voice remained steady. The coordinate analysis I conducted indicated navigation protocols that weren't reflected in current tactical evaluations. My observations about mapping standards were documented in my assessment reports. In the operations center, the older master sergeant with graying hair and multiple combat ribbons watched Anna with growing intensity, his brow furrowed in concentration as if trying to place a half-remembered voice from tactical briefings. The morning hours passed as Drone Operations Officer Collins returned for follow-up questions, asking Anna about specific mapping requirements for the current operation. Can you explain the standard protocols for certifying autonomous drone coordination of this nature? Collins asked. The operations staff would have established primary and secondary navigation procedures with tactical oversight, she explained, her voice still frustratingly soft. Standard protocol requires verified coordinate testing and clearance confirmation at predetermined security levels. And if those procedures were insufficient or compromised, the backup navigation would proceed using alternative assessment methods after primary mapping was evaluated, utilizing specialized coordinate protocols on confirmed combat systems, she explained with a level of tactical precision that raised eyebrows among the operations staff present. Major Harrison leaned forward, his patience visibly wearing thin. Cartographer Reyes, I've asked you repeatedly to speak up. This operations center cannot properly evaluate mapping assessments it cannot hear clearly. I apologize, Major, Anna replied, her volume barely increasing. The older master sergeant in the center now sat forward at his monitoring station, his eyes never leaving Anna's face. Recognition seemed to be dawning slowly, his expression shifting from curiosity to something closer to alarm. Colonel Mitchell seized on the major's frustration. Perhaps Cartographer Reyes's reluctance to speak clearly reflects her limited confidence in her own mapping assessments. Drone Operations Officer Collins stood immediately. Ma'am, that's inappropriate speculation. Noted, Collins, Major Harrison replied sharply. Colonel Mitchell, confine your remarks to relevant questions for the cartographer. Colonel Mitchell nodded in acknowledgement. Cartographer Reyes, in your assessment as a mapping professional, was there anything about the coordinate systems that indicated modified tactical requirements? Anna looked directly at the main drone display for the first time. The mapping assessment suggested tactical modifications beyond current protocol estimates. That wasn't my question. Based on what you observed, should tactical procedures have been modified? Based on the coordinate patterns I identified, yes. But my assessment was not included in operational planning. Colonel Mitchell's expression hardened. Are you suggesting that mapping information was deliberately ignored by operations management? I'm stating that the coordinate analysis I provided differed significantly from the tactical assessment that was distributed to operations personnel. The operations center stirred with murmurs. Major Harrison tapped his pen once against his desk, restoring order. Cartographer Reyes, Major Harrison said, his voice tight, with growing impatience. You'll need to explain that assertion clearly and audibly for the operations staff. What specifically was different about your analysis? Anna paused, her eyes scanning the operations center briefly before returning to the major. When she spoke, her voice remained soft, forcing everyone to lean forward to hear. My coordinate analysis indicated that the drone navigation protocols included tactical features using algorithms normally reserved for special operations missions. That information was not included in the tactical briefing provided to operations personnel. Major Harrison's head snapped up, his carefully maintained composure cracking for the first time. The seasoned master sergeant's expression darkened as he studied Anna with new intensity. Cartographer Reyes, Major Harrison said firmly, frustration evident in his tone. This is the final time I will ask you to speak louder. The entire operations staff must be able to hear mapping assessments accurately. Anna looked directly at Major Harrison. A look of quiet recognition passed between them, though the major quickly masked it with professional detachment. The veteran master sergeant in the center was now gripping his monitoring station, his knuckles white. Major Harrison finally interrupted with visible impatience, leaning forward at his operations console. Cartographer Reyes, we don't have all morning. Speak clearly or we'll proceed with strike authorization without additional mapping input. The operations center fell silent. For the first time since beginning her assessment, Anna looked directly at Major Harrison. A look of quiet recognition passed between them, though the major quickly masked it. The seasoned master sergeant near the tactical display leaned forward, his hands gripping his monitoring station. Suddenly, Anna reached for her mapping equipment with practiced precision. She input a series of coordinates that had been marked as inactive on her tactical maps. The entire drone fleet, which had been maintaining standard patrol patterns, immediately responded to her commands. Every autonomous system in the sky began executing precision strikes with surgical accuracy, coordinating movements that transformed the entire battlefield in seconds. The effect was immediate and electric. Major Harrison's pen fell from his fingers, clattering loudly on his desk. Several operations staff physically straightened at their workstations as if witnessing something impossible. Colonel Mitchell's face drained of color. The seasoned master sergeant near the tactical display stood up involuntarily, then slowly sat back down. Complete silence fell over the operations center as recognition dawned across various faces. Some looked confused, others shocked, and a few, those who understood the significance of what they had just witnessed, appeared stricken. Anna continued in her normal soft voice, but now everyone was straining to hear. Those coordinates accessed a master control protocol I developed for Operation Skyhammer 4 years ago. I was also the chief drone coordinator attached to Project Steel Wing, which Major Harrison personally commanded 3 years before today's operation began. She methodically produced a worn, waterproof tactical case from her cargo pocket and held it up for the operations staff to see. This contains classified development records from Project Steel Wing, not the sanitized reports filed with Drone Command. These autonomous systems aren't just tactical assets. They're based on technology one designed before my operation was terminated and my clearance was officially revoked. Major Harrison attempted to call for order, but found his voice failing him. Cartographer Reyes, this is highly irregular procedure for operational assessment. My drone team and I were declared casualties of a security breach during Project Steel Wing, Anna continued calmly. I was the only survivor. I've spent 3 years working under assumed identity and waiting for another operation to utilize the same technology, not for personal reasons, but to prevent other personnel from being endangered by compromised tactical protocols. A younger operations technician near the drone terminals looked up in confusion. This is impossible. Lead Coordinator Reyes died in a classified security incident. I processed personnel casualty reports myself. The seasoned master sergeant turned to address him. Stay at your station, Sergeant, he said quietly. Look at what just happened with those drones. Dead personnel don't command autonomous fleets. Anna opened her tactical case to reveal development blueprints, security clearances, and classified documentation. My team was eliminated because we discovered General Robert Stone was facilitating technology transfers to enemy intelligence services through a network of compromised defense contractors, the same network that provided the false tactical specifications leading to my team's destruction. The operations center erupted into controlled chaos. Major Harrison tapped his pen repeatedly on his desk, finally restoring some semblance of order. His face had lost all color, and his hand trembled visibly. This operations center will pause current activities for 30 minutes, he declared, his voice unsteady. But before anyone could move, Anna spoke again. With respect, Major, this drone system contains the same security vulnerabilities that destroyed my team. I've waited 3 years to speak. But current operations are proceeding with compromised technology that could endanger national security. Major Harrison slowly leaned back in his chair, his authority visibly shaken. He nodded once, a gesture of reluctant permission. Project Steel Wing was classified above top secret, Anna continued. Our mission was to develop drone coordination systems that could operate without risk of enemy interception. We created navigation protocols and targeting measures that represented the most advanced autonomous warfare technology available. What we discovered was that General Stone was providing our development specifications to enemy intelligence agencies through a sophisticated espionage operation with tactical records linking directly to hostile governments. She turned her tactical case and removed an encrypted data chip. This contains navigation blueprints, coordination algorithms, and drone protocols. We transmitted this evidence before we were compromised. That transmission was intercepted and our research facility was destroyed. Our team was left to die. Colonel Mitchell stood, her voice hollow. I received direct confirmation from General Stone that Steel Wing team had been confirmed Kia. The operation was terminated due to security breach circumstances. We weren't dead, Anna said simply. We were very much alive and calling for immediate evacuation. I heard your voice on the command frequency, Colonel Mitchell. You sounded confused, but you relayed the termination order. Drone Operations Officer Collins approached Anna cautiously. Lead Coordinator Reyes, if what you're saying is true, how did you survive? And why assume a false identity for 3 years? Anna's composure never wavered as the center remained in operational suspension. I survived because I was separated from my team during the final assault on our facility. I was wounded, unconscious, presumed dead along with the others. Defense contractors found me and kept me hidden while I recovered. By the time I was functional again, the official story was established. My team was dead, the operation had been compromised, and General Stone had been promoted to advanced drone oversight. She looked around the operations center, meeting the eyes of several senior staff members. I needed time to gather evidence that couldn't be easily buried again. I needed to understand who knew about the technology transfers and who was simply following compromised orders. Most importantly, I needed to make sure no other personnel would die because of the same security failures that destroyed my team. The seasoned Master Sergeant approached the central tactical area. Major, request permission to address the operations staff. I am Master Sergeant David Chun, retired Special Operations. I was the tactical liaison for the Steel Wing operation. He turned to face Anna. Lead Coordinator Reyes was one of the finest drone specialists I ever worked with. If she says her team was betrayed, I believe her without question. Colonel Mitchell interjected. This is all highly dramatic, but it has no direct bearing on current drone operations. Autonomous systems proceed according to established security protocols, not some conspiracy from years ago. They're connected, Anna replied as the drone formations continued their precision coordination. The technology being used here includes the same security vulnerabilities from Steel Wing that enemy intelligence agencies exploited. Current operations are proceeding with compromised specifications. History repeating itself. Different operation, same betrayal, same source. She pulled another document from her tactical case. This is an operations summary showing that my team reported security vulnerabilities directly to General Stone 6 times before our facility was destroyed. We were told explicitly that questioning tactical protocols would compromise critical drone programs. We weren't being paranoid. We were trying to protect national security. Major Harrison studied the document, his operational leadership demeanor cracking further. These security reports weren't included in the tactical briefing I received for today's operation evaluation. Because they were deliberately removed, Anna said, just like current security assessments are being modified to hide ongoing technology transfers. And just like the evidence was removed from Project Steel Wing after my team was eliminated. The operations center had grown absolutely still with the drone formations maintaining perfect coordination. Every person present was aware they were witnessing something extraordinary. Even the operations technicians had stopped their routine monitoring, staring at Anna with undisguised astonishment. Drone Operations Officer Collins approached the tactical console. Major, in light of this new intelligence, I recommend immediate review of drone coordination security and potentially suspending current operations pending security assessment. Major Harrison nodded absently, his attention still fixed on Anna as the center remained operationally suspended. Granted, all drone operations will implement enhanced security protocols immediately. He paused, then added, Lead Coordinator Reyes will remain under protective custody until these matters are resolved. As staff began coordinating the operational changes, Anna spoke again. There's something else you should know, Major. She removed a final document from her tactical case. This is the original authorization for Project Steel Wing with your signature from when you served as drone commander. And this, she produced another paper, is the termination order that condemned my team. The authorizing signatures don't match. Major Harrison took both documents with trembling hands. Someone forged my signature on the termination order, he whispered, shock evident in his voice. Yes, Anna confirmed. You've been carrying responsibility for a decision you never made. The termination order came directly from General Stone's office. The retired Master Sergeant Chin moved closer. I always questioned why you would terminate that drone research, Harrison. It didn't align with anything I knew about your tactical integrity. Major Harrison looked up, visible emotion crossing his face. I've spent 3 years believing I made a call that ended crucial tactical development and contributed to my team's death. I authorized the operational liaison, but I never authorized abandoning them to die. The center communications crackled, and a team of federal investigators appeared at the secured entrance, led by a stern-faced senior agent. What is the meaning of this operational suspension and autonomous drone coordination? The agent demanded through the intercom. Major Harrison, I'm Agent Patricia Foster from the Defense Criminal Investigative Service. We received an anonymous intelligence package yesterday containing evidence of serious breaches of national security involving General Stone and technology transfers. I understand there may be connected evidence being reported in this operations center. Anna smiled faintly as the operations remained suspended. Right on schedule, she murmured. Agent Foster's voice came through the intercom. You would be Lead Coordinator Reyes, formerly of Steel Wing. I would be. We have extensive questions for you, Coordinator. Starting with how you survived and why you assumed false identity. And I have answers, Agent Foster. 3 years worth. The agent's voice continued through the center communications. Major Harrison, with your permission, I'd like to take custody of the evidence Lead Coordinator Reyes has provided and arrange for her protection pending a full investigation. Major Harrison nodded toward the intercom. Granted, but I want to be kept fully informed of any evidence relating to current drone security and potential technology compromise. Of course, Major. It appears several ongoing operations have been compromised by the same source. The operations center began to clear of non-essential personnel as security protocols allowed, but Colonel Mitchell remained at her monitoring station, looking shell-shocked. Anna approached her quietly while the center remained in partial suspension. I don't understand, Mitchell said, looking up at her. Why would you risk exposure? I'm the one who relayed the termination order that left your team to die. Because you were another victim of the same security compromise, Anna replied simply. You followed what you believed were legitimate orders from a trusted superior. The guilt should rest with those who manipulated you, not those who were deceived. How can you be so certain I wasn't involved? Anna allowed herself the smallest of smiles, glancing at the drone displays still showing perfect tactical coordination. Because I've spent 3 years studying every detail of what happened. I know who facilitated the technology transfers and why. I know who altered security reports and who profited from the tactical sales. Most importantly, I know you requested confirmation twice because you suspected something was wrong with the termination order. Colonel Mitchell's eyes widened. How could you possibly know that? Those communications were classified. I had help, Anna admitted. Not everyone in Drone Command was compromised. There are still good people within the system who wanted the truth to come out, and who wanted to prevent other personnel from dying because of security failures. As she prepared to leave with Agent Foster's team, the retired Master Sergeant Chen approached as security protocols began to normalize. Lead Coordinator, he said formally, then dropped his voice. Anna, we held a memorial service for the Steel Wing team. I spoke about your dedication to protecting national security. I know, she replied quietly. I read the transcript online. Thank you for honoring their sacrifice. What happens to this drone operation now? Anna looked at the tactical displays showing current autonomous systems still under perfect coordination. Now it proceeds with honest security assessment and proper vulnerability testing. National security can be protected because someone finally told the truth about technology transfers. The operations center remained suspended in a moment of shocked revelation as drone formations gradually returned to standard patterns. Major Harrison slowly stood from his tactical console and removed his command credentials, setting them on his desk before stepping down to stand on the same level as Anna. This operations center recognizes Lead Coordinator Anna Reyes, presumed killed in action, recipient of the Distinguished Service Cross for Tactical Excellence, he announced formally, his voice carrying a weight of regret and respect. The retired Master Sergeant Chen approached Anna and rendered a respectful acknowledgement. Others throughout the operations center followed suit, a ripple of silent recognition spreading through the room. Drone personnel who had moments ago regarded her with skepticism now stood in acknowledgement, honoring a fellow coordinator whose integrity had cost her everything. Colonel Mitchell, visibly shaken, stood to address Anna directly. I never knew who actually gave that termination order. I've been carrying this responsibility for 3 years, believing I contributed to ending important tactical work. I know, Anna replied. Your voice on the command frequency that day. I heard your confusion. You questioned the order. Twice, Mitchell confirmed, her voice breaking slightly. They told me I was risking national security by questioning administrative decisions, that the security concerns had been addressed through other channels. Major Harrison's professional demeanor cracked as he turned to face the operations staff. I authorized Project Steel Wing Liaison based on drone tactical research that indicated critical national defense applications. I did not authorize the termination order that ended the operation. The signature was forged. You've been living with responsibility that was never yours to bear, Anna confirmed. General Stone used your tactical authority to cover his own technology transfer activities. Agent Foster's team finally gained entry as security protocols normalized. Major Harrison, I'd like to request a formal suspension of current drone operations while we secure this evidence and establish proper protocols for what happens next. This has implications for multiple ongoing operations and potentially dozens of personnel. Major Harrison nodded. Current operations will continue with enhanced security protocols, but all autonomous systems will be immediately reviewed for potential compromise. He paused. Colonel Mitchell, in light of the evidence presented, you are relieved of any responsibility for the Steel Wing incident pending complete review of the circumstances. As federal investigators began securing the operations center and escorting people to debriefing areas, Anna opened her tactical case and carefully displayed photographs showing General Stone meeting with known enemy intelligence contacts and defense contractors. This was never about recognition, she said softly, addressing the center at large. It was about preventing other personnel from dying because of security compromise, and about making sure drone operations serve American interests rather than enemy intelligence agencies. As she descended from the tactical area, her shadow stretched long behind her across the center floor, the shadow of a drone coordinator standing at attention rather than a cartographer checking maps. For a moment, she paused to look back at the tactical displays showing current autonomous operations. The operations staff was coordinating with proper security information for the first time in years. Major Harrison was directing operations with restored confidence in his drone systems. Colonel Mitchell was working to identify other potentially compromised tactical programs. Master Sergeant Chun watched her from near the tactical console, his face reflecting a complex mix of pride and determination. Anna gave him a small nod before continuing toward the exit with Agent Foster's team. Her mission wasn't quite complete. There would be extensive debriefings, federal investigations, and probably congressional oversight. The full scope of the technology transfers would need to be exposed, and those responsible held accountable at every level. But the most important part was accomplished. The truth was out, and personnel could once again trust that their drone systems were working to protect national interests rather than serve enemy intelligence agencies. As she reached the operations center exit, a federal escort approached. Lead Coordinator Reyes, Agent Foster has arranged secure transportation for your continued protection. If you'll come this way. She followed the escort toward the exit, conscious of the eyes following her progress. Operations staff, technical personnel, drone officers. For 3 years, she had lived invisibly, unremarkable and unnoticed, gathering evidence while pretending to be a routine cartographer. Now she walked openly, her clearance restored, her purpose fulfilled. The older veteran caught up with her just before she reached the exit corridor. Lead Coordinator, he said quietly. What you did, surviving, maintaining your cover, gathering evidence, coming forward at the right moment. It was extraordinary. I had a duty to my team and to the personnel who came after us, she replied simply. It was more than duty, he insisted. It was courage of the highest order and tactical work of a quality that protected national interests. Anna allowed herself a small smile. You taught us well, Master Sergeant Chun. I taught you procedures and protocols, he corrected. What you demonstrated today, that came from within. He watched her leave with the investigative team, then turned to Major Harrison, who had joined them. Some heroes never get the recognition they deserve, he said quietly. They just carry the weight of protecting others. Major Harrison nodded, watching Anna's figure disappear down the corridor. And some truths are worth waiting years to hear. The morning light continued to strengthen as Anna's escort vehicle pulled away from Joint Operations Center Alpha 6. Behind her, the operations center buzzed with renewed purpose as drone operations moved forward with proper security protocols and adequate vulnerability assessment procedures. The operations staff worked with restored confidence, knowing their missions would proceed without enemy intelligence interference. Ahead lay the challenge of ensuring complete justice was served and that the full scope of the technology transfer network was exposed and dismantled. But for now, in this moment between what was hidden and what would be revealed, the simple act of speaking truth had transformed a routine mapping assignment into something profound. The power of one coordinator's quiet determination to honor fallen comrades and protect national security, even when it meant sacrificing years of her career to gather the evidence necessary to expose betrayal that powerful forces had tried to maintain forever. As her vehicle reached the main gate, Anna's radio crackled with an update from the operations center. All security protocols have been restored to maximum classification. Investigation proceeding with full federal oversight. Anna closed her eyes and smiled for the first time in 3 years, knowing that this time, national security would be protected by honest coordination rather than compromised by enemy operations.